So less than 48 hours after a preseason opener where the Chiefs had way too many penalties, Andy Reid put the problem into one word: discipline. And today in full pads, you could hear the coaches hammering details all over St. Joe, while one rookie who flashed on Saturday suddenly started getting touches right behind Kenneth Walker. Mansour Delane finally went full contact with the starters, and Patrick Mahomes went right back to ripping big plays to Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice. I went through every rep, every quote, and every report from today, so you don't have to. Let's start with the health side of things because there were a few new issues today, but there was also some really encouraging news. The biggest positive, Mansour Delane. For the first time all camp, Delane was completely out of the yellow non-contact jersey, fully cleared for contact, and immediately working with the starting defense. And he didn't ease his way back into it either. Multiple reports had Delane working with the ones during team periods, and he broke up a pass intended for Cyrus Allen during one-on-ones. After practice, Andy Reid said Delane practiced and did everything. That's a pretty big step considering how carefully the Chiefs have been bringing him along with that shoulder. And if you've been waiting to see what the secondary actually looks like with Delane fully involved, now we're finally getting there. Ashton Gelati was also back in pads today after missing the preseason opener because of a hamstring injury. Nate Taylor had Gelati back working with the first group during the team period, so that's another encouraging sign. Trey Smith's not back just yet, but it sounds like he's getting pretty close. Smith was still working off to the side today with that hip issue, and Andy Reid said afterward that Trey is doing well and getting closer, although he wasn't sure we'd see him back this week. I wouldn't rush him back anyway for a preseason game if he's not completely ready. The important thing is getting that starting offensive line healthy when the games actually count. There were a few new injuries though. Jack Cochran left practice in the front of a cart after trainers were looking at his right knee, and Andy Reid confirmed afterward that Cochran did in fact injure the knee. Deshaun Singleton suffered a hamstring injury. Matt Waletzko also hurt his knee. And Esapole left practice in the front of a cart too, which looked pretty concerning at first, but the update was much better there. Reid said Pole was just dealing with dehydration and not an injury. Chu Godric was already out today with an ankle issue, and with Pole leaving practice early, the Chiefs had Josh Simmons getting some third-team work at left tackle. Getting pretty thin there. You also had Drew Tranquill, Chamari Connor, Kader Kohu, L'Jarius Sneed, Jimmy Holiday, and Jeff Weimer off to the side without their helmets, or just not there at all, while Omar Norman-Lott remains on the PUP list. So there's still a pretty long list of guys being managed right now. But when you balance out all of that, getting Delane fully cleared, getting Gelati back in pads, and hearing that Trey Smith's getting closer, makes the overall picture feel a lot better than it did 1 week ago. And now let's get to the part of practice that really caught my attention, because one rookie who already made people notice him on Saturday suddenly started getting a very different kind of opportunity today. And of course, that rookie was Emmett Johnson. What caught my attention today was not one huge highlight. It was where Johnson was getting his work. Pete Sweeney noted that during 9-on-7, Johnson got the next touch right after Kenneth Walker. Ron Kopp Jr. also had Johnson as the second back used early in the run period. Now I want to be careful here because Nate Taylor had the individual drill rotation as Kenneth Walker, Amari DiMercado, Emmett Johnson, and then Brashard Smith. So I'm not telling you the Chiefs just officially made Emmett Johnson the number 2 running back. What I am telling you is that after flashing in the preseason opener, he's getting meaningful opportunities around the first group, and the Chiefs clearly want to keep seeing more from him. And that's exactly how a young player starts building momentum. You make people notice you in a game, then you come back to practice and the coaching staff gives you another chance to show that that wasn't a fluke. Real quick, if you're enjoying these camp updates, help us get this one to 700 likes and 30K hype. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and help us reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of the season. Johnson wasn't the only young offensive player the Chiefs continued finding ways to use. Cyrus Allen had another really interesting day. Farzine noted that the Chiefs used Allen on another end-around, something they've gone to several times with him during camp. Then during 7-on-7, Allen made a one-handed catch along the sideline that got everybody pretty pumped up. That's the thing that continues to stand out with Cyrus. They aren't treating him like a receiver who only has one job. You're seeing regular receiver work. You're seeing him used on jet sweeps, end-around concepts, and you're seeing him involved in return drills. And he just keeps making plays. That gives Eric Bieniemy and the offensive staff a lot of different ways to potentially get the football into his hands. And the veteran offense had some fun today too. Patrick Mahomes hit Xavier Worthy in stride up the seam during 7-on-7 for a big gain. Chiefs reporter Matt McMullen described it as a smooth throw and catch that allowed Worthy to show off his speed. That's exactly what you want that connection to look like. Get Worthy moving vertically, put the ball out in front of him, and let one of the fastest players in football do his thing. Mahomes also had a productive stretch with Rashee Rice. There was a play-action slide route where Rice got outside of the defense for a big gain up the sideline. Then on the very next play, Rice came back with a dig route for another completion downfield. There was also another throw where Mahomes put the ball directly over Nick Bolton's head and into Rashee Rice's hands. And what I liked about the Rice portion of practice was that we got both sides of the story. He was making plays, but the coaching staff was still demanding more from him. Ron Kopp Jr. noted one rep where Eric Bieniemy got after Rice because he didn't finish the play the way Bieniemy wanted him to. So Rice eventually turned and ran the rest of the way upfield. That might sound like a tiny detail, but I think it ties directly into what Andy Reid said after Saturday's game. Reid said that the penalties in the preseason game came down to discipline. Then, less than 48 hours later, these guys are back in full pads, and you can hear coaches all over the field demanding details. At one point, Chad O'Shea could apparently be heard from the far field yelling about details before making a receiver run the route again. Bieniemy was getting after everybody during 7-on-7, and Reid praised both O'Shea and DeMarco Murray afterward in his presser for the amount of teaching that they're doing on the field. That doesn't mean that this was some sort of punishment practice, but it does tell you what the emphasis is right now. Clean it up. Finish the rep. Do the little things right. Because when the regular season starts, some of those little mistakes become the difference between extending a drive and giving the football away, and it can even take points off the board. Travis Kelce was doing some teaching of his own. Matt Foster caught Kelce working directly with Jared Wiley and demonstrating proper blocking technique. And then Kelce went out in one-on-ones and reminded everybody that he can still embarrass a defender himself. Sam McDowell described a vintage shake at the top of the route that sent Alohi Gilman completely in the wrong direction. And it was pretty funny considering Gilman got everybody back later in teamwork. Gilman jumped underneath a Noah Gray route in the end zone and intercepted a pass to end the 2-minute drill. Justin Fields also had a couple of good connections with Amari Evans, including a big play during 7-on-7. So there was plenty happening offensively today. But the thing I keep coming back to is the standard the coaches were demanding while all of it was going down. Because after what Reid called a discipline problem Saturday, the message coming out of practice today felt pretty clear. Talent is not the issue. Now they want the details to catch up with said talent.
Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's episode. Today we're going to do a little NFL Week 1 action. We're going to take Derrick Henry versus the Indianapolis Colts, 0.5 rushing plus receiving touchdowns. We're going more on that. Derrick Henry is getting into the end zone Week 1. Jamar Chase versus Tampa Bay, 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns. We're going to take more on that as well. And then down here at the bottom, I see our boy Kenneth Walker out of the Kansas City Chiefs versus Denver on Monday Night Football, rushing plus receiving touchdowns, 0.5. We're going more there as well. If you want to follow along with all of these picks, follow us at All Chiefed Up on Prize Picks. You can download the app in the description, and as always, use code HMA when signing up. Now back to the show.
There was also something pretty interesting happening along the offensive line today. With Trey Smith still working back from his hip injury, the Chiefs opened practice with Jalen Moore at right guard and Khalil Benson back at right tackle. And I don't think you should look at that as the Chiefs suddenly changing their mind about Benson. Remember, Benson spent time at guard because Trey was unavailable, and he held his own there in the preseason opener. Andy Reid talked about the rotation after practice and said the Chiefs want both Benson and Moore capable of playing both positions on that right side. And Reid specifically said Benson held his own at guard in the game, while also saying that Moore stacked a lot of good days. So what the Chiefs are doing here looks a lot more like building flexibility than creating some brand new competition. If Benson is your right tackle, you now know he can kick inside if you ever need him to. And if Moore can handle both spots too, that gives you another piece you can move around without completely reshuffling the offensive line every time somebody goes down. And with Trey Smith getting closer to returning, this is actually a pretty good time to find out exactly how much flexibility you have behind that starting five, because in the game, it didn't look all that encouraging. There was movement at some other positions today as well. Special teams had a pretty long list of players working kick returns. Nico Remigio, Brashard Smith, Emmett Johnson, Tyquan Thornton, E.J. Smith, Cyrus Allen, Amari DiMercado, Jacob DeJesus, and Jaden Ott were among the players getting opportunities. For punt returns, the group was a bit smaller. Brashard Smith, Nico Remigio, Jacob DeJesus, and Cyrus Allen were the names getting those opportunities. And just like we talked about before the preseason opener, those reps don't carry the same weight for everybody. Cyrus Allen's already done enough offensively to put him in a really strong position on this roster. For guys like Brashard Smith, Nico Remigio, and Jacob DeJesus, special teams can become a much bigger part of the argument for keeping them around. And Emmett Johnson showing up in the return rotation is interesting too, because now we're talking about a rookie who flashed as a runner Saturday, got meaningful work behind Kenneth Walker today, and is also being given an opportunity to help out on special teams. Every little thing you can do just makes it harder for the Chiefs to take you off the field. Emmanuel Ogbah was also in pads today after recently joining the team. We didn't get enough from today's practice to start making big claims about what his role is going to look like, but getting him back into the practice environment and around this defensive front is another step towards figuring all that out. And that's really where I'm at with this team after today. Saturday showed you that the Chiefs still have some things to clean up. Today showed you that they know that too. The coaches were demanding details, the young guys were being pushed into bigger opportunities, and Mansour Delane finally got all the way back. Emmett Johnson's making it harder and harder to ignore him, and Patrick Mahomes went right back to making plays with Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice. And that's exactly what you want to see. Now, if you missed our live play-by-play call of Saturday's preseason opener, or you just want to go back and relive the whole game with us, I'm going to put that replay up for you right here. So go check that out now, and we'll see you there.